What's good, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Power 2 Podcast presented by Get Defensive Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Jordan, and I'm here with my co-host, DJ.
Presented? I love
You
that.
know,
Hey everybody, I am coming to you live from my brand new bedroom. I moved this weekend. I'm tired as hell.
moving is awful. It
It's
is it is truly one of the worst things that you can do.
I
And
didn't do
you
much of anything except point, but it was still very
you paid
aggressive
movers,
pointing. Sure, let's go with that.
friends.
Yeah.
See,
Get
they
the
are
village
better
together.
they're better friends than I.
Well, I paid them, obviously, and I fed them. I just didn't pay them as much as what I would pay movers.
Yeah, as a larger guy, I have been tasked with helping people move my entire life, and as I've inched closer and now reached 30, that is no longer on the
Not a thing.
table.
I feel that.
That is no longer on the table. I have went past my moving years. Um,
Not your prime moving years are behind you.
yeah, like, I had a good run. I had a good run from like 15 to 28, 13 years. 13 years I was moving people for pizza and beer. Well, not beer when I was 15, but pizza and drinks, and then the drinks changed, but pizza stayed the same. I was pretty
Right. It
consistent
went
about
from
wanting
beer
pizza.
to Hennessy.
No, I don't drink Hennessy. I love myself too much.
Thank you
But
so much. Hennessy is disgusting. We're saying it here now live on Get Defensive Source Network. Might not be the entire network's opinion, but it is mine. Hennessy is
yeah,
disgusting.
it is. But yeah, I mean, happy for you. I like the little the little setup behind you. You put a nice painting over that.
That, yep, we
Yeah.
trust and believe the elephant painting, obviously, will be going over there because, of course, I have an elephant painting. Um, why wouldn't I?
Wouldn't expect anything
I
less.
mean, it's a beautiful painting. But yeah, so how's it going? How's life?
Life is life.
Great. Okay,
Trying
welcome to
not
Power
to
2
think,
Podcast.
you know, breathing and things. No, I'm trying not to think about the fact that in like 2 weeks I will be back in school. So
Yeah,
while
the summer
working
is
and
coming to a
doing
close.
all of the things that I have in my life.
Yeah,
So
summer is coming to a close. It is getting severe up in here at my job too. Like there's just, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from football season. Ah, my God. So there's just a lot of things to get done. So I feel you on that. But anyways, today is our playoff prediction show, period. But first we have news because I'm sure all of you have seen, hopefully, if you're a college football fan, you've probably been following very closely.
start with your news because it's less related.
Thanks for just completely just stopping my whole spiel because now I have to think of a new spiel. Okay, well, sorry, we're starting with my news. Basically, the biggest thing with my news is that the NFL may potentially, not really, who knows, be held responsible for their discriminatory ways. There is a coach by the name of, what is his name? A coach by the name of Brian Flores, and other Black coaches have faced discrimination, and so they are suing the NFL over it. They're suing the NFL over their hiring practices and the fact that they have not been able to get a job, and that they're usually just getting interviewed but never actually being considered. They could be put on trial over these civil claims, and that was ruled on Thursday. So we will see if this collective of Black coaches can get the NFL to admit that the Rooney Rule was just what am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Just an arbitrary here, damn, fill in, just to
Yeah.
make sure that coaches were getting considered, even though they knew they were never getting those jobs. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I have feelings.
Not I
Think,
have feelings.
you know, a lot of people talk negative about the Rooney Rule,
Mm-hmm.
and I would like to be clear that I think the Rooney Rule makes sense. Which doesn't make sense is that there was never any sort of punishment if
Mm-hmm.
you didn't do it. So like the rule, for those of you who don't know, essentially the rule is basically you have to have a minority coach in every interview cycle, even if like it's basically stopping them from just hiring people that they know. You
Mm-hmm.
have to interview X number of coaches. A minority coach has to be among them. I'm also pretty sure you have to bring a minority coach to your facility. Like they can't just be like a Zoom
A
interview,
Zoom interview.
as we all
Mm-hmm.
know how the interview process is, especially after the pandemic went. A lot of jobs, you have 1 or 2 Zoom interviews, and then some of them will bring you on campus for the final round. And I think that makes sense because if you do it correctly and you generally genuinely interview people and things like that, you can be swayed in your opinion, or they could be someone that you want to hire for a coordinator or something like that. I think the issue became that the NFL teams would hire coaches that would interview coaches that everyone knew wouldn't get a job. Like the
Eh,
most recent one, I believe, was the Patriots, and we all
yeah,
knew who the Patriots were going to hire.
yeah.
They were hiring Mike Vrabel, but in this interview, I don't remember which two coaches, but they hired two coaches who hadn't been head coaches in
Well,
like
yeah, we
five
talked
to
about that.
seven years,
We talked about that on the show that they had been out of
and
the
then
NFL for a while.
and then they put them on the same graphic, just like blatant, like we are not like we are doing the rule, but we're not putting good effort into it.
Mhm.
And I think that was the issue, that there was no punishment for like, hey, you're not,
Don't
you
play in
know?
these people's faces. Yeah, yeah.
So, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. With stuff like this, it just takes time, and we'll see if there actually anything actually comes of it, because also at the end of the day, the NFL is never gonna want to admit, um, that that's what's going on, but, like, we also know that that's what's going on.
It's a win of sorts that it's going to trial and not just
Yeah,
arbitration or settlement.
yeah.
So that is a win in itself. We'll see if it actually goes to trial or if the NFL decides to settle. Settling
Mhm.
typically is an admission of guilt. But one fun thing that I've learned about the law is most of these organizations don't like to go to trial, because when you go to trial, there's a thing called discovery. And in discovery, a lot of times things get found out that you don't want to get found out, that is
Yep.
entirely unrelated to why you're there. Because,
Yep.
like, if
Yep.
you have something related to this on the same document as something else, you can't, like, you have to give the thing, and a lot of times other stuff gets found out, and so a lot of times they try not to go to trial and they just try to settle. So we'll see.
We will see. Now, speaking of settling and trials, the cheating ass Michigan, football team got some sanctions.
They did. I would like to go through them. I would like to provide a perspective that I haven't seen much, which I think is disingenuous.
A tragedy.
Bring it up early.
Oh.
Bring it up early. Bring it up early. But I also want to be honest in that for Michigan fans who are viewing this as a slap on the wrist, who are saying that they got away with it, that is totally fine. For the Michigan fans who are slightly more realistic and saying that this is a hefty fine, but I'm fine with paying $30 million to win a national championship, that is also fine.
That's insane.
I'm not going to pretend that this is life changing, but I think that people are like, I literally just finished listening to a podcast where all they did was laugh at it and say it's not even a slap on the wrist, it's a poke on the wrist, and Michigan is rich and all of these things. And that is not true. Like, it's not that Michigan's not rich. Michigan does not spend money to the level of other programs, which is why the recruiting has fallen behind, which is also why it was a big thing that they went and stole a quarterback from LSU. Michigan does not have uh, um, an empty wallet. Their boosters do not pay the way that they're trying to pretend that they do. And even if they did, $30 million is not chump change. So, like, we'll run through the list, but I just think that there's been a sort of collective, oh, this means nothing,
Mhm.
especially from national media. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And I just think that's dumb, especially like non-Michigan fans. And I also think it's dumb because they're not really providing context, which does matter. So to run through the list of things, we won't go through what Michigan did. We all know what they did. Sign stealing.
Cheating.
If you don't know, you can Google it. You can read the 70-page document. You can watch the
They
Netflix
cheated.
special. Like, you can figure it out.
They're cheaters.
So,
They stole a championship. They don't deserve to have it. It will always have blood on it.
and that's the last point that I want to get to. So here's all the things: 4-year probation, financial penalties, a $50,000 fine, plus 10% of the budget for football, which is millions of dollars.
Mhm.
A fine equivalent to the anticipated loss of all postseason revenue sharing associated with the 2025 and 2026 football seasons. That is where the hefty number is. That alone is projected between 20 and 30 million. Especially again, if Michigan goes far, they get more. And then a fine equivalent to the loss of 10% of scholarships awarded in Michigan's football program for the 25-26 academic year, which is like a fine of roughly $500,000. A 25% reduction in football official visits during the 25-26 season, a 14-week prohibition on recruiting communications in the football program during the probation period. Connor Stallions got an 8-year show cause essentially what a show cause means is if you get hired within those 8 years, you have to serve a year long or a 2 year long um, suspension immediately,
Hmm.
and the employer has to show cause of why they should be hiring you. So it
Hmm.
basically makes you unhireable. But
Bans
Connor
you
Stallions
from
was never going to
yeah,
get a job again. Jim Harbaugh got a 10-year show cause order. Um, he was never going to go back to college. Denard Robinson got a 3-year show cause order. And then Sharon Moore got a 2-year show cause order. He's currently the head coach, but that doesn't affect anything because he already has a job. So there's
right,
nothing there.
right.
And he's not going to have a new job. Like, unless he gets fired this year, that means he wouldn't work next year, but it's doubtful that he's going to get fired this year as a newer coach. So,
Hmm.
I wanted to provide some brief context. First of all, on why people think that this is nothing. I don't think that they're doing the math right because everyone's like, "Oh my God, these programs are rich," which is dumb. But the most important thing for any new college football fans who are like $20 million is a lot of money. Why are they not talking about it? Um, it's because the NCAA used to be much more harsh. They used to have a lot of penalties that they do not do anymore, or they're
Hmm.
no longer allowed to do anymore.
Hmm.
Um, they so, for example, the things that people are sort of expecting, they used to vacate wins and championships. The championships did not happen often. Vacating of wins and championships is the stupidest thing that they've ever done because if you watched it, you know it happened, and no one but weird fans are like, "You didn't win. They vacated it." Like, nobody cares about that. Like, in general,
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
thing to say that they did, and where it affects is like in the record book, like if you googled all the champions, like their name wouldn't be there, but like
Yeah,
some schools do like adhere to it, and so they'll take the banner down, but like they're not giving the rings back, and the players aren't going to tell their grandkids like, yeah,
they're not giving that
i almost
experience back,
i almost
obviously.
I wanted ring, but then they took it from me. Like, you don't do
Yeah.
that. The vacated wins as well. They used to do postseason bans, which is the one that like everyone really sort of wants. And then they used to do a reduction of scholarships and various things like that. So, for example, something that happened, one of the last ones that happened, um, is USC got fined when Reggie Bush was found out to have money given to him in a car and some
Paid,
things like
yeah,
that.
when he was paid.
So Reggie Bush lost his Heisman, which is the perfect example of why this doesn't matter. Because name a single person that said Reggie wasn't a Heisman winner. Even Heisman winners were like, Reggie was a Heisman winner. Like, they literally, like, Johnny Manziel was like, I'm not even going to go to the
Still,
Heisman
yeah,
no more if you don't give Reggie his Heisman back.
that's why it was such a big deal that that commercial happened. What was it, last year where they had all the
Yeah,
Heisman winners in it and Reggie he was in it because it was,
because
like,
they officially gave him his Heisman back,
back finally,
and
like,
it's like,
it's
so that's like for me, that's the
yeah,
perfect example of like no
yeah.
one cared. Like,
He's
nobody was
always
like,
gonna have
ah,
that
man,
trophy.
who
Yeah.
won the Heisman in 2010 or whatever year it was. We all know it was Reggie Bush. So, but Reggie got stripped
We
of
were
his,
all there.
yeah, Reggie got stripped of his Heisman. The school got a 2-year postseason ban. They were stripped of 30 scholarships, and they let's see. They also, like, I think the wins were also vacated. So people are like, all that happened because USC got vacated. Reggie Bush was getting money that he shouldn't have gotten. Why, when what Michigan did is much worse, were the penalties not as bad? I will be very brief in that. What happened with Reggie Bush and USC? They sued, people got mad, fans said it's unfair to punish people. Again, USC, perfect example. That punishment happened. Reggie Bush was in the league, and so was Pete Carroll. So that punishment was for players who didn't even play with Reggie Bush because it takes some time for this to happen. The scholarship
Mhm.
reduction, Reggie and Pete weren't there. All of these things happen. And so there's this huge cry for years, especially around the 2010s, of it's unfair to punish players who weren't on the team. It's unfair to let these coaches go to the NFL or to quit or to retire and nothing happened to them. Reggie Bush is making millions of dollars in the draft, all of this sort of stuff. So over time, the NCAA has stopped doing postseason bans. for literally the reason that fans didn't want them. They literally say in this would be a postseason ban, but we don't believe in punishing players. And the case of Michigan, because this happened in 21, 22, and 23, most of those players are gone.
They're
All of
gone.
the players who have a name are gone, right? JJ McCarthy,
Mhm.
Will and no, not Anderson. That's whatever. Will, whatever the corner's name is, Kenneth Grant, the running backs, all three of them, like everyone that you know with the name is gone. They're in the league. So
It
for
is
this
punishing
happening,
the next it's not even punishing the team that did the shit. But also, I that was the coaches who did that.
but
So
the
there's
coaches
also
aren't there either.
exactly, that's what I'm saying. It was the coaches who did that. So to do a postseason ban and punish the players when the players were never really even a part of it, regardless of whether they're here or not, is also, like, problematic. Like, because it
Yeah.
really is the coaches that orchestrated all of that. Who knows? Maybe the players were aware. Who knows? That's
And
fucking
I
that's
imagine that
hearsay at that point.
some players are coaches closer to coaches than others, so they're
So
probably a
maybe
couple
they
players. But
yeah, but
do you expect me to believe, and this is, trust me, Buckeyes, this is not in defense of Michigan, but you can't convince me that every single player in the
player
locker
was
room knew what
aware.
was going on
No,
and
there's
signed
no way
on
they
for it.
knew. There's no way
It's
they
just
knew.
unrealistic.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's why the postseason ban doesn't happen. The vacated win doesn't happen anymore because literally no one cares, and we asked them not to do it. Not like the removal of championships doesn't happen for the same reason as the wins, but also, and this, like, everyone acting like the NCAA was doing too much. The conferences who now call themselves the autonomous conference, Google what autonomous means. It means that they make their own rules. That's why they call them that. They stepped away from the NCAA as much as they could to where the NCAA does not run the college football playoffs. That is
No.
not an NCAA championship like the basketball and softball and baseball and soccer and hockey and swimming and so on and so on and so on and so on. That is not run by the NCAA. That is a totally separate committee. So even if they gave them a postseason ban, if Michigan was good this year and they made the playoffs, which I don't think they will, but if they
Mhm,
did, which we're going to predict in the show, if they did, would the college football playoff committee uphold that ban? We don't
mhm,
know. They may
mhm.
not, because the NCAA doesn't control that. So the only thing the NCAA could do if they did postseason bans is basically, if you're not good enough to make the playoffs, but you can make a bowl game, which we
They'll
do
kick
run,
you out the bowl
maybe. So
game.
it's just it's one of those things. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
The
I
last thing that I want to go ahead.
no, go ahead.
The last thing I want to say about this is and this may not happen, right? But I think we're underpaying basically all of the things that they used to do: reduction of scholarship, postseason bans. They did all of that still, but they turned it financial.
Mhm,
It doesn't matter how much money you think Michigan has. Losing 20 to $30 million is a lot of money. That does
mhm,
affect a lot of things. $20.5 million is revenue sharing right now. That is how much money you are legally allowed to give athletes. They're losing a year and a half worth of revenue share. They
mhm,
can't go to the current players and say, we can't pay you because we have to pay this fine. They have to
mhm,
come up with this money on top of that. The revenue share is going to go up. The money that the players is going to go up. You need facilities, you need all these things. The lack of recruiting visits, right? Losing a quarter of your recruiting visits means you have less money and time to bring these players on campus, and then you also either can't offer them more as much money, or you have to figure that out. Like, I
mhm.
understand it sounds different to say the player, like a postseason ban sounds worse than this fine, but as someone myself who has always talked about college football and the players first and the experiences that players get and all these things, I can't do that and say the isn't the only thing that matters. These kids get to go to bowl games and they get passports and they get all
Mhm.
these things. I can't personally do that and then say we should do a postseason ban where 18-year-old Bryce Underwood, who was in freaking
Not
ninth
even a
grade when
part
this
of this.
happened, now
Yeah.
for the first 2 years of his career, he can't play in the postseason because of something, a coach that he's probably never met. So
No, yeah, this is the punishment being more directly towards the coaches and more financial makes the most sense because I also feel like there still has to be a level of, like, you have to feel that this is a bad thing. You have to feel that this is not something that is going to be condoned. And yes, with the NCAA, they can't go super, super far also because they just get sued over everything. But, like, to me, I'm like, keep the main thing the main thing. Make the school feel it just enough to be like, "Oh, shit, we shouldn't do that again," but not, like, do so much to where you're gonna get sued.
Yeah,
Like,
and
that's
that's
the
an
best they could
unfortunate
do.
place that they're in, but that's where they're
Yeah.
at. And the highest fine until this one was $8 million.
Mhm.
So there's a this fine is most likely going to triple the highest fine
Yeah,
ever
it's
given
historic.
out.
It's the biggest, yeah. So it's like, but it's also like, what you did was historically bad. Like, what you did was historically bad. So yes, we're going to tamper down on your recruiting. Yes, we're going to ask for more money, and you need to feel the rebuild. You need to feel what that feels like and actually win a championship fair and square. And
And I
Michigan
think
is a very well supported school. They do have a lot of boosters. I read somewhere that their projected revenue for next year is $266.3 million. So it's like in June, that's what they said. That's what they're expecting for their next fiscal year. So it's like, also, they're not gonna be broke. You know what I mean?
but yeah, but revenue is not what
That's not
that's
what they're
not
taking home, obviously,
yeah.
but I'm saying, like, they have high earning potential. So even with the fines, like, yeah, they're gonna feel it, but they also do have high earning potential.
Yeah, and so and the thing with it is ultimately, right, people are saying this is not a deterrent to other programs. Let's pretend that Michigan has the money where they won't feel this, which is legitimately not true, right? Ohio State has more money than Michigan, and Ohio State had to pay a buyout 2 years ago, and then they operated in the negative. It was this big thing. Everyone's like, "Oh my God, Ohio State operated in the negative for 22-23," and then it was just like it was 1 year they paid a buyout. These budgets are always close, right?
Right.
So, but let's just pretend their boosters give them $20 million. It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. There are less than 10 programs who could eat that.
Mhm.
So for the other 120, it does matter. And also, even if you can eat it, doesn't mean you want to, right?
Of
Just
course.
think about
Yeah.
normal people. How let you make 60, 70, $80,000, right? Even
Yeah.
even if you make 40 or 50, you can pay that $100 speeding ticket, but do you want to?
Of course not.
Is it
Yeah, but I'm
fun?
saying it's not like,
Like
I'm just saying it's not gonna they're not gonna be poor. That's what
no, no,
I'm
no.
getting at.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about I'm just talking about the people who are acting like this is nothing. And
Yeah.
so what I think that this does, where I think this affects them that people are not considering is even 1 year of not having money, even having to tell one recruit, we can't pay you this does potentially spiral. You get players who transfer, you get players who don't come. And so in 2 or 3 years, if Sharon Moore gets fired and Michigan has 2, 5, and 7 years, people may not think that it was directly related to this, but I do genuinely think that it is
Oh,
because
yeah, they're about to flop.
Where Ohio State,
Yeah.
Bama, Oregon, Georgia, where they in 2025 have to raise $20 million, Michigan has to raise
40,
50,
50.
40
Yeah.
or 50, right? Like that, it does matter. I'm not saying it's the biggest thing in the world. I'm not saying it carries the same weight as vacated wins or postseason bans, but this is the best that the neutered NCAA could do.
Mhm.
This is a hefty number. It is not a slap on the wrist like people are saying it is. And I do think it's going to have implications that people aren't considering when all of
Mhm.
recruiting is financial. I don't believe today that because I don't even think Ohio State could do it. I don't think Texas A&M could do it. I don't
Yeah.
think these programs are calling their boosters and getting $30 million tomorrow to pay this.
Yeah, but also at the same time, it's what they deserve. So I don't really care that they have to figure that out because you cheated and you stole a championship. So this is what you deserve. You deserve for people to be transferring away. You deserve for there to be less recruits to want to go there less. That is what you deserve. You cheated.
Right, right. But my thing is, I think people are the point of the whole thing is that whether they deserve it or not, a lot of people, including national media, are acting like there are no
It's not that big of a
implications,
deal. Yeah.
acting like
Yeah.
$30 million is just is pocket change to Michigan, and that they aren't going to face any sort of repercussions, that this isn't going to have any effect. And I
Mhm.
think we've gotten to a point with sports where we're
We're not thinking critically.
overinflating. Well,
Yeah.
nobody's thinking critically in this country,
We are
but
not
we're
thinking
also
critically.
overinflating how much money these programs have.
Have. Yeah.
Michigan is not pulled $20 million out of nowhere
Yeah.
and not
There's a
stumble
difference
anywhere
between
else in their program rich.
There's a difference between brand equity and brand liquidity, right?
Yes.
Like, yes, of course, Michigan, it can be worth a lot, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they actually have those types of funds to be just thrown away.
Yeah.
But also, you cheated.
And
So,
the simple thing is, right? if Michigan can raise $20 million, if they can raise $30 million, would they rather raise that money for a fine, or would they rather, because let's just,
They
last
cheated. Oh,
hypothetical.
well, you lost the choice when you
DJ,
cheated.
please let me finish. You keep like, we know they cheated. That's not the point. My thing is, if they could raise $40 million, would they prefer that $40 million to all go into their football program? Or would they prefer 20 to go into the program and 20 to go to a fine? Would their team be better if they spent $40 million on the football program versus 20?
Obvious. The answer to that is obvious. I don't understand the point you're making, I guess.
The
Like,
point is, I'm not making the point to you. I'm making the point to the people who think that this doesn't matter.
right. Either way, they're receiving consequences for their actions. So, like, whether people, I guess when people say, like, oh, it's nothing, it's like, well, billions of dollars is not nothing. Like,
Which is
obviously.
that's what I'm saying. What would
Like,
Michigan look like next year if you gave them $40 million and they could spend that whole $40 million on their
yeah, of
football
course.
team?
But I mean, also at the same time, like, I get what you're saying, but I kind of do get what other people are saying because it's like, yeah, like when it seems like they have so much money, like that does seem like
But
a
that's
slap
the
on the wrist.
point. They
But
don't have that much money.
they don't actually have it, which we know they
And
don't
it
actually have
does
it.
well, we know it. I
Yeah.
don't know how many people I don't know much you've been on Twitter and the podcast you've been listening
I
to.
don't pay attention
No,
to other people.
exactly, which is what I'm getting at. Nobody else is acting like this is an issue, which is why I was trying
Well,
to
yeah, I saw the articles were saying like, "Oh,
is
Michigan got a
yeah.
slap on the wrist." Oh,
So
da da da. Da. Like I know that
ultimately
the attitude is
the
that. Yeah.
ultimately, wherever you fall on it, this is the best that the NCAA could do as they are being neutered. It is also, in my opinion, even though I don't think Michigan or Michigan players deserve anything, they are still players, and I still contend that we should not punish players when we don't have to. This is the best that could be done. The last thing that I want to say about this entirely is, as evidenced by DJ through the first 30 minutes of this podcast, anytime you bring up Michigan, what do you say?
Y'all cheated. You're a
And
cheater.
that's
I
the
hate
most
you.
important thing, right? Michigan fans can be happy with the ring. The record books can say that they have a ring, but everyone is going to say that you cheated.
The what is
That
it? What is it? The North will remember
Yes,
that y'all cheated.
and it's one of those things that you can be delusional, you can say all these things. There was a good article that someone wrote, especially about Michigan in particular, where Michigan has always pretended to be above the fray. They pretended that they've never cheated, that they have this whole Michigan man thing. Jim Harbaugh, as he was leaving, talked about a Michigan man never cheats, he never lies, he never steals, all of this sort of stuff. And it is an erosion of your perceived culture.
Your
It is an
complete
erosion of
brand.
how
Yeah.
of your brand.
Yeah.
And no, that does not matter on the field, but that does matter.
It is a pimple
And
on the butt cheek of your entire body of work.
as a fan of a team that just won a national championship, no one can, I can say Ohio State won a national championship and no one can say anything. Even if it's just a minor annoyance. Anytime a Michigan fan anywhere says they won a national championship, there's liable to be someone that says they cheated. And does that affect the team? No. Does it affect the field? No. But it is something that is there. And as sports fans, people know sports fans do not like cheating. It is going to delegitimize a title, and that is going to matter to a subset of people. It is not
Yes.
tangible, right? But
Yeah.
it does matter, to the point where people still argue that LeBron's championship doesn't matter because it happened during the pandemic.
During
Like
COVID.
these
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
matter, right? They don't have a major effect, but it is something that people consider and talk about, and it's something that is not being considered, that for the first time in a decade or however long, you are the first champion that people will not respect because you cheated.
Yeah, it sucks. It's so unfortunate too for anybody associated prior to this happening and um in the future. Like I mean, and then it's like SMU, for instance, like we got the fucking death penalty. It's always so ironic because we got it for something that's okay now, but we got the fucking death penalty, and it took us literal decades to come back from that because we were doing shit that we were not supposed to do, and that's just what happens. You know what I mean? And that's been associated with us even to this day. Like that is something that still gets talked about to this day. So it's just like, no, it's not stealing a championship. That's insane. We were just giving away cars and giving people cash under the table. Y'all was out here stealing. That's crazy. Like That's crazy, and I almost feel bad, like, I almost feel bad for the players and the people who are, you know, who do genuinely care for Michigan and are Michigan fans, but, like, that's associated with your team's championship now, like,
And
sucks.
it's funny. I was listening to a podcast where this Michigan fan was basically laughing and cheering about them cheating, but that's who you've been turned into. Like that's what
That's
you
weird.
have to do, right? Like I use the term morals loosely because it's sports, but like to be a fan of this, you have to get rid of your morals.
You have
This
to make
woman
stuff
was
weird. Yeah.
literally doing fucking gymnastics to make this seem okay. Was laughing, like talking about the NCAA is the cops and lawyers tell you not to speak to cops and just doing all of this like mental gymnastics. And I don't have to do that for my ring. Bama doesn't have to do that, right?
For any of
Clemson didn't
theirs.
have to do that, right?
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Eagles didn't they don't have to do that, right?
Yeah.
Whoever the hell just the Oklahoma City Thunder, they don't have their fans don't
Yeah.
have to tap dance to make this seem like
Makes
they did
sense.
something good.
Yeah.
Michigan
Yeah.
fans, and you see it in the comments, you see it on Twitter, you see it in podcasts. It is a level of delusion that you have to create
It
for you
exists.
to feel
Yeah.
good about this, and that
Yeah.
also matters.
Yeah. It's causing states of genuine delusion. It's like sometimes when I see like the way that people like talk about, oh my gosh, the way that you bring up disingenuous, it's the same way I bring up Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, truly, because it's kind of the same thing that like certain fandoms do to like try to make the other side look like they're not as good. Like the way they move the goalposts and like change the rules. Like, what do you mean rebounding is not a good thing? Like in basketball?
Yeah.
Come on now. Or to the other point, like saying things about like Paige. They've been talking about how Paige is like not that good because her team isn't winning. And it's like, okay, but when Caitlin Clark's team wasn't winning, y'all still
Um,
acted like she was the best player to ever pick up a basketball, but they were losing. Like, am I confused? Like, anyway, it's just so
it's
interesting how the goalpost gets moved based on your fandom and how strongly you feel about a particular team or player. That goalpost can just be swinging.
yes. And as a unique kind of experience being an Ohio State fan, being born in Ohio, dealing with Michigan fans, Michigan used to try to lord this thing over Ohio State because
Hmm.
Ohio State has been embroidered in scandals. We got a
Hmm.
coach fired because players were exchanging memorabilia for tattoos. And that was this huge thing. Coach got fired, players got suspended, like all of this stuff.
Sorry,
And
that's not fair.
Michigan used to, and it's crazy, right? Like, but that's what they were doing. Like, they didn't have any money, but they had 4 pair of gold pants, and it's like, I don't need 4 pair of gold pants. Here's a pair for a $500 tattoo, whatever. And it was this huge scandal, right? And Michigan fans used to try to lord that over Ohio State. We've never been in trouble. We didn't have tattoo gate. Your players were this, like
Tattoo
writing all,
gates.
that's what they call it, like all of these sort of things. But now
You
you
can be like, well, your
do.
championship is fake.
Now you do. And the thing that our players did isn't even a problem anymore.
It's
Like you
not
can bring
even.
it up as much as you want to, but if Jeremiah Smith wants to sign a jersey for a tattoo, he
You
can.
can.
So
NIL.
we were a victim of the times for something that nobody cared about at that time and nobody definitely cares about now, and they are always going to care about on-field cheating. And
Period.
if nothing else, that is a punishment
That's
that does matter.
that is the biggest code that you can break in sports. It's the biggest one. There's no other code. There's no other code worse than breaking the code of being fair.
I mean,
It's nothing worse.
people still talk about Tom Brady and Deflategate,
The
and that wasn't
deflecting.
even proven.
Yeah.
Like we don't even know
Yeah.
for real.
No, it's just
This
we
was
just feel
proven.
like it
We've
happened.
seen it, and
Yeah.
so
We just feel like it happened, and that's why I don't like the Patriots. To this day, I do not like the Patriots because of Deflategate. Like, I will never get behind it. I also just don't like Bill Belichick, as y'all know, but, like, I just could not get behind it, and I don't know if it's true, but the lore is enough for me to feel like, I don't even wanna
and
be
yeah,
associated with the idea of cheating, like, no. That's why
and
I've been so aggressive towards Michigan, like, I don't give a fuck about none of the rest of this stuff. You broke the code. You broke the code. You come into the games and you give it your all and you play the fucking game. You play the game within the game with the officials and things like that. Everybody does that. There's levels of, whatever to get what you want out of those situations. But to completely take people's play calls, bro, stop. No, you're doing too much. That's too much.
So let's talk about teams who are going to, have a chance to
Who
win a
are
national
not gonna cheat.
championship, but not cheat. This is
Exactly.
our this is our 2025 playoff predictions. We
I feel like I'm gonna regret one of my decisions.
I'm already regretting one. If you haven't listened to our previews, please go back. We previewed the ACC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the SEC. As a part of that, we picked who we thought were going to make the playoffs. That culminates in this big show because even if you listen, we don't expect you to remember. And
OMG.
lastly, we sort of had to stick with it. All right. That's one of the things that I like to do with this show. I don't like to be wishy-washy, which means I have instant regrets and we're just now recording it. I
I'm
have
regretting it
regrets
too.
from 3 podcasts ago,
Me
but
too.
there's nothing that I can do to change
Nope.
it.
I know
I'm
I was like, I
stuck.
wanted to change one and I was like, I said it on the show.
Yep.
But
We
because I'm
we
like,
we
I see a team that I've left out and I'm already like, I've fucked this up. But you
yeah.
mentioned it to me, but I still felt strongly about it. But I'm like looking now and I'm like, anyways, okay, so I don't know what we want to do. We just want to rattle them off of like, how do we want to do this? But because basically what we're telling you guys is the amalgamation of all of our previews. We've done our research, we've had our conversations, we've been each other's sounding board and said like, okay, this is the state of all of these conferences. We don't talk about the group of 5, but we will obviously share our pick for that and then all the at-large picks.
Yes.
But
Do
this
you
is the culmination.
Yeah, so I have something that's gonna make you mad, but it's fine.
Oh,
Do
fabulous.
you, by any chance, have an order in mind of 1 through 12, or
Oh,
no?
mother. No, I do
Okay.
not have a 1 through
So
12. I do not
for
have a 1 through
yours,
12.
for
I have a
yours, we'll
1
just
and a 2.
yeah, for yours, we'll just talk through it, and then I created something for mine, and the nature of life did not have time to do this for both of us, but it will be done for future shows so we can reflect on it. So, um, let's just go through it.
I'm terrible with
Who
rankings because they're so biased, like, I just can't keep up.
Yeah. Who's your ACC champ?
SMU, obviously.
Big 10?
Oklahoma.
That's
Ohio
not right.
Ohio State. Ohio
Big
State.
12?
Utah.
CC?
Texas.
G5?
Tulane.
Okay. So those are our conference champs. Uh, this is an important time to mention for those of you who forget, because everyone was mad about the playoff last year and the order. They were mad that Arizona State and Boise State got byes. Previously, last year, and the only year we've done a 12-team playoff, the playoff was structured in that to get a bye, you had to be a conference champion. The
Correct.
highest ranked conference champions get the bye. The way it worked out, Arizona State and Boise State were ranked higher, and so they got those byes. That is no longer the case this year. Conference
It's straight
champions
seeded.
get in. The 4 conference
Mhm.
champs plus the G5, they get in, but it is straight seeded. So we won't have that problem that people had
Who's
last
gonna
year.
Yes.
So to go into your at-larges, who do we have?
Okay, so my at-large is Clemson because they're gonna get in from being in the ACC championship. Then I have 2 more SEC teams with no, 3. Do I have 4 SEC teams in here?
Yes.
Yes. 4 SEC teams with Bama, Georgia, LSU, and then obviously Texas won the SEC, like I said. And then the rest is all Big Ten. So Penn State, Oregon, and Indiana.
I think that most of these are going to be accurate.
I feel
Um,
strongly about all of them except for the last one.
and the last one being,
Indiana. I think I should switch them out for Notre Dame. But
I
but
think you should have
also
switched the team out for Notre Dame, but I don't think it's
but
Indiana.
also I don't think but here's the thing, that's what I was about to say. I'm like, but also I almost feel like I want to switch like LSU out for Notre Dame. I almost want to take LSU out of there. Like out of all the SEC teams that will make it, I feel like Texas, Bama, Georgia, and then LSU might not get that last bid because of Notre Dame. Not because of not like they affect each other, but like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like Notre Dame will be ranked higher.
Yep. I agree of sorts. Mine is slightly different. But the point that you just sort of worked to is where I'm at, and that I
Hmm.
think there is only going to be 3 teams from the SEC instead of 4. And that is where Notre Dame gets in because I do think Notre Dame is going to be a good team.
Oh,
I did take the time I told you it was going to make you mad, but we didn't have time.
okay.
Well, listen, I'm sorry, but the next time we do it, it'll be there. I
Yes,
was
I
literally
love
t
the fishbowl.
I was
I would have
literally
loved. fucking show a bracket. No, I'm actually pissed off, and we're gonna take them up for me being pissed off because I was unaware. I'm telling you people because I was unaware that there were brackets to be filled out. I would have filled out a fucking bracket, Jordan.
So
I'm
here's the
done.
thing. Here's the thing. Do you know when I filled this out?
Probably before today, I'm
No, no,
assuming.
no. I filled it out in the 15 minutes that I was waiting for you to show up because I was sitting there and I was like, man, it would be good to have a visual. And it took me all 15 minutes to Google it. And I found a whole bunch of crappy websites that wouldn't let me do what I want to. And then I stumbled on this like empty bracket from the college football playoff, and shout out to working in higher ed, I have the good Adobe so I could edit
And
it.
it's
So
Adobe,
I
yes.
literally created this like 5 minutes before you logged on, which is why I didn't have you do it. I literally have one for you, but there wasn't time to do it. Like I couldn't send it to you and ask you to do it because you know how the sausage is made, we're recording while I'm at work. So I gotta get
I
back to
know,
work.
and I'm like, and we actually don't have too much more time, so I'm not
No,
gonna be stuck on this. I'm just very annoyed about that. The only reason why we don't have time is because Denasia moved. So,
you know,
whatever. It's fine. I'm fine. I will have a beautiful bracket to show. That'll be kind of cute to like track it
you
in
know.
some way. But anyways.
That that's we gonna see what's happening. We gonna see what's up. So
Anyways,
I
he
took the
has visuals,
time.
ladies and gentlemen. If you're not
Uh,
watching us on YouTube, click off your podcast app right now and go to YouTube. Get to Fitz Sports
yes,
Network on YouTube to see my beautiful face, to see Jordan's beautiful face, and to see this beautiful bracket that he has for himself and not one for me.
hey man, say man. So I took the time to put uh seedings, which is a bad idea. It looks great. Should not have done that because there's literally no way. There's
This is gonna
absolutely
be
no
this.
way to justify the seeding. The only ones that I'm confident in is the top four because I think Big Ten, SEC, and ACC champ, unless the ACC champ is Georgia Tech or something like that, they get the top 3 seeds. And then I
Yeah.
think because Penn State was expected to win a national championship, they get the 4 seed. I think it's flipped. If Penn State beats Ohio State, then they're 2 and Ohio State's 4. I'm
Hmm.
also sort of basing this off of what it would have been last year, which is Penn State was 5, but they would have been in that top 4 if it wasn't like that. And so I'm
Wait,
essentially,
so you don't have the Big 12 championship in the top? Okay, champion in the
yes.
top. Okay,
And I don't
okay.
think that'll ever happen unless they're like really, really good.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
I think the top 3 is going to be ACC, Big Ten, and SEC almost always,
Hmm.
unless the ACC champ, like for example, if SMU would have won last year, which they should have, damned Clemson, like if that were to happen this year, I don't think they'd be top 3. But like Clemson has the cachet for what So, but I don't think
Right.
the
So
Big
we're
12
still
champ
doing the.
ever gets the 4. Like
Okay,
I don't think
gotcha.
they ever get the 4 unless they're like legitimately just really good. I think the 4 and the 5 seed is guaranteed to be the second best Big Ten and ACC, Big Ten
And
and
SEC.
SEC school,
Gotcha.
depending on how they rank it. And then
Gotcha.
after that, you just sort of figure it out. But I think they're going to be heavy Big Ten and SEC towards the front, and then they'll
Hmm.
filter everyone else in. So even if the
Okay.
teams are wrong, how I have this is
The conferences might be right.
there is 3. So in the first 7 teams, there is 1, 2, 3,
3 SEC and
4,
3.
5, 6. So there in the first 7, there are 6 Big Ten and SEC schools, and I think that's probably going to be that in most cases.
Hmm.
One year it may be 4 Big Ten versus 2 SEC. One year it
Or
may be
3 and
3 and
3.
3 or
Hmm.
whatever. But I think in most cases in the first 7, it's gonna be heavy Big Ten SEC, and then the ACC champ is gonna be in there, and then depending on how good that second team is, they may sneak in there. But that
Hmm.
was sort of the logic behind it of how I sort of see this going. So one, I have Texas because Texas has all the hype. This, oof. That's wrong already. That's wrong already.
Well, on a side note, speaking of Texas, I was seeing somewhere that this is the first time, maybe not the first time in history, but this is the first time in a long time, maybe, that college football is kicking off with the 1 and 2 matchup.
I think it's the first time ever.
Yeah. So first time in history is the big noon game. Um, is it? It's not the first game of the season, is it? Am I tripping? It
Yes, it
is.
is. Well,
Okay.
no,
No, it's
it's not.
not.
No, it's not. No,
Well,
it's not.
not
No, it's
week
not.
0, week 1.
Then it is because it's at noon. So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah, big
effectively
noon.
the first game of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. First game of the year. historic for the first time in history, first game of the year is ranked number 1, number 2. We're getting our championship rematch with Texas and Ohio State.
Yes. So
I can't
live,
I can't get Ohio State out today.
yeah.
The
I had
Ohio State.
to live change this only because I have Ohio State beating Texas week 1.
You're lame. Okay, go ahead.
For having Ohio State beat Texas week 1?
No, you're lame for having visuals.
Okay. So Ohio State 1, Texas 2, Clemson 3. I then have Penn State 4 because similar to the thing, I think Penn State has more hype than Bama does coming
Mhm,
in. If they have the same record, I think Penn State gets that nod. I have
mhm.
Bama 5, Oregon 6, LSU 7, and Notre Dame 8. Those 5, 6, 7, 8. So Alabama, Oregon, LSU, and Notre Dame would have home playoff games,
Hmm,
which is going to be absolutely amazing. To have a home
mhm,
game at Bryant-Denny in Alabama, to have a home game in Death Valley at LSU, to have a home
mhm.
game in Oregon, which they didn't get last year, and to have a home game wherever the hell Notre Dame played, but Notre Dame is just a cool stadium. Like,
Not whatever the hell they play.
I know the other names. I don't know the name of theirs.
I
I
don't
know
know.
like Oregon is Autzen. And
I couldn't tell
also,
you.
yeah. And so that's that. And then 9, sorry, Utah, as the Big 12 champ. I think unless they're a bad
Big
team,
12 champ's gonna be that far down?
yes, they
Wow.
don't respect them.
Wow.
In my opinion, the Big 12 champ, unless they just have a really, really bad year, I think they're always going to be in the 8-9 matchup because
Mhm.
I think they're like, we don't want to put a champion at 10, 11, 12,
Of course.
but we want to put other teams first. So I think whether they're 8 or 9, I think they get that 8-9. I'm trying to like galaxy brain how the playoff thinks, but I think there's typically a rhyme or reason how they do this. So
There's
I
not
have them
really one.
at 9, and then you just sort of fill out the rest. Illinois, Big Ten, I think they get in. Georgia Tech, which is the one that I'm gonna regret. But I think Georgia Tech. So I will explain the Georgia Tech thing for the people who haven't listened. The basis, the bare minimum to get into the playoff at this point is 10-2 and above. So this 11 is either going to be Georgia Tech or Miami. I'm
Mhm.
picking Georgia Tech. I think Miami's not going to be as good.
SEC school that's
If
10 and 2.
Yes,
Mhm.
if you remember Georgia Tech's schedule, booty cheeks. So I think they're probably 10-2, which gets them in there. Where we differ is you have the fourth SEC team. I don't think the SEC, I think similarly to last year, the SEC does not have 4 teams that are 10-2. I think their fourth best team is 9-3.
Yeah.
Maybe they ignore it and they put them in, but they didn't do it last year. I think we have the same annoying argument, but the 10-2 team gets in over the 9-3 team.
Mhm.
So that's Georgia Tech. You could replace Georgia Tech with Miami. I think whoever comes out the ACC, that second team's gonna be 10-2.
Mhm.
Actually, it would be whatever. So
3rd
Georgia
team, the
Tech.
3rd team.
And then the last one, Tulane. Now that they are in there, the G5 team is probably always going to be 12. Some years they'll be better depending on how good they are, but I think that's sort of where we end up.
Wow. Well, this is beautiful. I'm a
Thanks.
hater.
It's okay. You'll have one next week. Um,
Anyways,
I think
um,
that this honestly,
I think the Georgia Tech pick is a hot one. That's a hot pick. I feel like the rest of this feels pretty much like, yeah, I could see it. The Georgia Tech one, I'm like,
I know that's
that one's a
yeah.
tough one. But I put Indiana in over Notre Dame. So I mean, listen, we're making decisions, okay?
Yeah, I think it was just hard for me to like. I know there's gonna be some years that it's gonna happen, but it was hard for me to think there's gonna be 4 Big Ten and SEC teams. So it was
Mhm.
like if we do essentially what happened last year, which I think is what's gonna happen most years, if we stay at 12, is that between the Big Ten and the SEC, there's gonna be 7 teams.
Mhm.
There may be a year or two where they get 8, but I think most time it's going to be 7. It
Mhm.
could easily flip after this year, but where the teams are in the schedule, I think it's more likely that the Big Ten has more teams that are 10-2 because schedule does matter. And I also just think that like certain team, the quarterbacks really matter. Like when you get to
Yeah.
this like
All
10,
these
11, 12,
elements.
13, 14, 15 range, I think the Big Ten has some second and third year starters that helps. Where like, for example, the big thing that people may notice, Georgia's not here. Georgia, I think, is going to have a kind of tough schedule, but also I do think their quarterback's going to be bad. I think Georgia's going to be Alabama of last year, where they look good for most of the year. They
Mm,
lose a game to Texas, who they should lose to. They lose a game to Bama or something, who's just as good. And then they get upset in a game that they shouldn't, maybe early, because the quarterback's not good.
mm-hmm,
Georgia ends up at 9-3. I think we get a very similar bracket to last year. It's just Alabama and Georgia are flipped. And if you
mm-hmm,
remember, Georgia didn't look great last year. And a lot of those games, they almost lost to Georgia Tech, right? They
mm-hmm,
could lose to Georgia Tech this year. I think that
mm-hmm.
no team is invincible. No team is Alabama's Nick Saban. I think that Georgia is in line for a down year, which is what happened to Clemson, and that they go 9-3 a couple of times, once or twice. And then after a year or two, they're right back here. Like, this is not death to Georgia, but I do think this year, 9-3. And so, again, you can pick Georgia Tech or you can pick Miami. The overwhelming thing is I think that the second ACC team gets in. And for me, I think the second ACC team is going to be Georgia Tech because I think Carson Beck is shit. And I don't think I don't really like Miami's roster. So,
I'm screaming. So you think the ACC championship is going to be Clemson and Georgia Tech?
yes. And they both
Cute,
get in,
cute.
which is what happened
Okay.
last year. It was Clemson and SMU. They both get in.
Yeah, yeah. So you're not an SMU fan. Is what I'm getting out of this.
Well, I would be an SMU fan if my friend would buy me tickets, but
I don't
since I
have to
can't
buy
see
tickets
them in
because I
person,
am staff. I
since
need you
I
to buy
can't
a
see
flight.
them in
Buy a
person,
flight, and you can come to a
nobody is
game.
putting money towards my
Buy
flight.
a flight.
So,
All right, that's crazy.
yeah,
Anyways, turn
no,
your damn screen share off. You're pissing me off.
yeah. So, uh, that's us. That is our playoff prediction. Um, I
It's gonna be
think,
so much fun to like go through and then like come back and be like, yo,
yeah,
what were we? 'Cause this is gonna get busted up in some kind of way. I don't know why. I
easily.
feel like most of the teams that we talked about are actually not gonna be the teams that are successful because it's college football and like that's just how that goes. Like, yes, there's somewhere like you can assume they're gonna be successful, like the Texases, the Penn States, and all of that. But the rest of these teams, like realistically, like
I have Georgia Tech in the playoffs.
you have
Like,
Georgia Tech in the
you think I
playoffs.
feel good about that?
Like
I have
I have Notre
LSU
Dame
in the
not in the
playoffs.
playoffs. I have Notre
Yeah.
Dame not in the playoffs. Like this is wrong. I'm letting y'all know right now, we're wrong.
Hi,
we
welcome to our podcast. We're wrong.
we're wrong. Welcome to Power 2 Podcast where we talk about the power of being
Admitting
wrong.
you're wrong. Yeah,
And the power of admitting when you're wrong. And that's what
Yes.
I'm doing.
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
is
Early,
saying
early.
I'm wrong because Notre Dame is in there somewhere. And I do have the strongest feeling, to your point, LSU. I still
Yeah.
think LSU is going to be the 9-3 team in the SEC. I don't think it's
And
going to be Georgia.
and that
But
wouldn't surprise me, and I probably should have picked that, but I was trying to, be
keep it
different.
spicy. No, like
Yeah,
that's fine.
I didn't want to
I
be
think
boring.
there is a team out of the SEC teams that we have mentioned. One of them is going 9-3.
Yes.
That is yet to see which one it is. But out of the SEC teams we mentioned, one of them is going 9-3. I also think that SMU will be better than Georgia Tech,
Yeah.
personally.
And
But
because people are going to see this maybe and be mad, I'll explain it very briefly. I've already talked a little bit about Georgia. LSU has a quarterback who is, I don't know that he's going to be there, but he's going to be in the running for the number one pick in the draft. He's probably, if he has a good year, he's going to be a Heisman finalist and a top 5 pick. Texas, all of my things with Arch has never been that he's not going to be good. I just don't think that he's God's gift to earth.
they need to calm down over him. They just
But I
need
do
to
think,
take deep breaths and pop his you know what out of their mouth.
yes, but he's going to be good. So that's 2 teams with good rosters, maybe arguably for this year only, because I wouldn't say it forever, for this year only, potentially just as good or better rosters than Georgia with a better team. Alabama does not, we don't know about their quarterback per se, but I'm oddly confident this year that Alabama has a better roster than Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And they have some at some key places, and they have Ryan Williams. And so while they may both have bad quarterbacks, I do think that Alabama, you do schedule, you do roster. And so that's what it could easily be LSU, right? Who's the 9-3 team, and Georgia is just Georgia and they find a way. But
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching Georgia for 2 years out talent people in
Mm-hmm.
games that they didn't play good. And Clemson did that for a while as well, right? And eventually you lose a game
That
that you
catches up to
shouldn't.
you. It catches up to you. I
And
do
so,
though. I'm glad to get a look at Georgia without Carson back. I could tell you that for sure. Even if
yes.
this quarterback is not like that good, I'm just happy to get a look at Georgia without Carson back because I do feel like he just made them look bad
Yes.
sometimes. Like,
Also, Georgia doesn't have a wide receiver. Like, I don't like, we can talk about it, but like they don't. Uh,
well,
so their best wide receiver is a kid who didn't play well at USC. He could fix it, but like,
maybe, and development and growth spurts and things that
yeah,
happens.
but like Georgia currently is not a team that I'm trusting with wide receiver development either. So, and like their defense is going to be good, but like I don't think it's all it takes for Georgia to go 9-3, in my opinion, is the quarterback to throw a couple picks in games that he
Yeah,
shouldn't, and their
yeah,
defense to be top 12 instead of top 5.
yeah, yeah. And then we're having a different conversation. I mean, we're wrong. Like this is
Yes.
whatever. The point is, we did our research, we did our analysis, and these are decisions that we came to, and we are sticking to them for now. Now,
That's your man. That's my man, and I'm gonna stick beside him.
I will not be doing that, but there's a lot of people who do that. Are we doing this?
Yeah. So,
Okay, new segment. Go ahead.
welcome to our new segment. DJ, what is our new segment?
Our new segment is called Screenplay. We need like a little sparkly sound right there. And this is basically where we tell you what games to watch in the upcoming week. So, as you guys know, well, if you're new here, welcome. We are actually a review show. We are not a preview show. We only do previews during the preseason. Look, you see how I did that? But throughout this season, these episodes drop every Monday, so you will be getting our reactions to the games that happened that Saturday and Friday prior. So we'll let you know which games to look out for in the upcoming week. And then on that next week, we'll chit-chat about them, talk about games that came up that were really, really good, whatever, blah, 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 give you the next week. So that's just kind of gives you guys oriented on what the show's going to look like once the season starts. And that will be happening during Screenplay. I think we're going to just have to do the spirit fingers.
I will not be doing
No, you
spirit
don't have to do
fingers.
it. I'm just
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can do it. These are not spirit fingers. These are spirit fingers. Anyway,
we can figure it out. We can,
you can do like a little. You can do like this is a applauding screenplay. Okay,
yeah, something.
so
We'll put something in there.
sound right there. But anyways, welcome to Screenplay. We're going to tell you each time slot and which game to watch. So this is week 0,
Yes.
which means that nobody cares about these games. But
Oof.
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just playing. I mean, I'm not playing. Me personally, I care, but I also know that you were joking.
Week 0, which is like basically like the preseason, like these games don't count towards their records,
Yes, they do.
right? They do?
Yep.
Am I stupid?
Nope. This is
These
just a
games do.
stupid concept.
Okay, their games do count towards their records, but it's week 0. Whatever. Anyways, Jordan, what are the picks for the noon time slot?
Yeah, well, there's only one game at noon, so that was super easy. But
Fabulous.
it's
Watch that
also
game.
it's also the best game of the week 0 slate. Kansas State versus Iowa State. This is a rivalry game. If I remember correctly, this is Farmageddon, which is a great rivalry name for Kansas and Iowa. Like, come
It's
on.
one of my favorites.
But they're playing in Ireland. And
Yes.
it's a rivalry game. It's week 1. It's playing in Ireland. I think this is going to be a very fun game. You should definitely watch it. Our midday game, I cannot.
Yes, it is called Farmageddon. Iowa
Yes.
State and Kansas State.
I
Starting
couldn't
in
remember.
1917.
Yeah, I was like, Farmageddon, I think it's the states, not the, like, I think it's Kansas State and Iowa State,
Yeah.
not Kansas and Iowa. So,
No,
but
yeah.
I want to make sure.
It's one of the longest continuous series in college football history.
Yes.
Period. Because one thing I'm good for is a factoid. Go ahead. Sorry.
Hey, our midday game, I can't promise you that this is an amazing game to watch, but it will be a game. Idaho State versus UNLV. It is also the only
UNLV
game.
is so much fun to watch.
Yes. So that is why it's on here, especially because it's also the only game at that time.
Period.
The evening
then
slate, there are multiple games on. Fresno State versus Kansas. If Kansas plays like they played last year, Fresno State can beat them. I think this is a game that's not going to tell you a whole lot, but it's one of those things where it's just like interesting. Like throughout the season,
Just get a little peep.
Yeah, like throughout the season, you look at things and you're like, like you grab bits and pieces of information and then you add them together and they give you something. If Kansas blows out Fresno State, that puts you towards the maybe they're gonna bounce back from last year's tough year, right? Maybe they can be like, it's not the only piece of information you can't say for sure, but it's an interesting where if this is a close game or they lose, it's like, oof.
It's an indicator of something. We don't know
Yes.
what, but it's going to tell us. So it's our first bit of evidence towards the case for Kansas.
Yes, because I don't think Fresno State is going to be an entire
They're not really
layover.
Yeah.
It's an interesting it's just
Great.
an interesting little thing.
And we will have the after dark part once they have 9 p.m. games, but in week 0, they do not have 9 p.m. games, so there is no after dark.
Yes.
Period. Okay.
Now I'm just
Time
pressing
for
buttons.
time for our last our last 2-minute report. I'm gonna go first because mine is short. Um, this past weekend, actually, not even this past weekend, literally yesterday, there was the Seattle Storm through the Forever Sioux game where they unveiled the Sioux Bird statue that is in front of climate or whatever the arena
Climate
that they
Pledge, I think, or
Climate
something.
Pledge Arena, I believe is what it is. They unveiled the Sue Bird statue. And if you guys are fans of statue unveilings like I am, where the statues don't be looking like people, Dwayne Wade, for instance, whew, that statue is so bad. Um, that is just something that I've just started to find just entertaining. Dawn Staley got a statue earlier this year. Now Sue Bird has her statue, and she just said one of the most beautiful things. And she basically was talking about like how she felt about being the first WNBA player to have a statue in front of their facility. And she said, if me being the first means that there gets to be more, then I'm proud to be the first. And it's like the way that her and Diana just speak about, because they have such a strong understanding that like they just played in the league in the time before, like they are aware of that, but they've done so much for the game. And I don't think that the game would be where it is without them. And for them to just be so gracious and so beautiful and to say like, to be very clear about like, they spent the amount of time that they spent in the league and they went hard and didn't just stay overseas because they wanted the league to grow in the USA. And I just love it. I just love it. And, the Seattle Storm, I do think actually ended up winning. No, Ooh, no, they actually did lose. They actually lost by 2. So the Seattle Storm, unfortunately, is fighting for a playoff spot. That's a whole nother thing I can't get into. But shout out to Sue Bird.
We love that. I do not actually have a 2-minute warning, so I'll just add to yours and
Oh,
say
good.
that Sue Bird became the 3rd player all time to start to play 20 years for the same organization and get a statue. Did you see this?
I did not, but that makes sense because the other 2 are what, Kobe and Dirk.
Yes. I
Yeah.
was a little fun
Yeah.
piece of trivia that I was like, "You better not get this wrong." Yes.
Yeah, those are my 2 faves. I love me some
Yeah.
Kobe and Dirk. Yeah.
She joins Kobe and Dirk as
Owns the
the only the
fraternity.
3rd player all time to play for a franchise for over the same franchise for over 20 years and get a statue.
Yeah.
So
I think the
congratulations.
DT statue is coming though, for sure. The DT statue is definitely coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Sue Bird. Um, Great. We do love that. We love when people are being respected for what they've done. Hell of a career. I
Yeah, her Hall
cannot
of Fame
wait
speech is gonna be
for the Bird and Trossi show uh in March. I'm not trying to get there because that means we sped through a lot of things, but
you'll be
it is
31. It's gonna be too
always,
much going on.
yeah, come on now. You didn't have to do that. You ain't have to go there.
You'll be,
Anyway,
like, in your 30s, like, "No, hold on."
yeah, yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
god, we're getting old. I turned 30 in 2 months, you guys. What the heck is going on? Anyway, Jordan's gotta go, everybody, but thank you so
As
much for
always,
listening.
thanks for listening. Please follow the show on all the places.
Everywhere. Find it in the
Podcasts.
description.
You know what I'm saying? It's everywhere. You can follow us on YouTube and IG at Get the Foot Sports Network. You can follow us on TikTok at GD Sports Network. We are on Spotify. We are on Apple. Football season's here. If you have not shared this show with your friends and family yet, what are you doing? Football season is here,
Like,
and
you want to hear us talk about it.
you do. And we'll catch you next week.